So are we recording? You can start recording because Flash.
Yeah, we're recording.
Flash has calmed down. He didn't like his breakfast this morning. He ate about 2/3 of it, and then he, started huffing and puffing and said, bring me a peeled grape or something. I don't know. And he's been sitting here for the last 15 minutes going.
So, acting like he normally does.
Yeah, but I didn't want.
Wait, you sound really weird. What's going on? Did you change something?
No, I'm doing the same thing I do every week.
Oh, because that sounds really strange. You sure you didn't change some setting or something somewhere?
No, I wouldn't even know what to change.
Oh, hang on.
What?
Oh. Here it is. You've got to. There's a reason why we put the.
He's back.
Hi. It's a big gag.
So we're in the same hemisphere.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of new things. The podcast is going to become a weekly thing again because we actually managed to do it. And we have a bunch of stuff to tell you about, but not yet.
Not yet.
Because we have a fully edited podcast video.
Two of them.
That we're going to show you first. So stay tuned.
That we recorded before I came home.
Right. So we're going to show
it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to see that first. So stay tuned. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have new stuff.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to the Reconstructing History Podcast. My name is Bob.
I'm Kass.
And together we are Reconstructing History.
Yay.
And it's a lovely day here in Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, still in Pennsylvania, but only a matter of days.
Only just. It's lovely here in the Netherlands too. The temperature has broken. We had 90-degree days last week, which the Netherlands doesn't know how to do 90 degrees. You can't open the windows.
Yeah. 30 plus is not good.
No, it's ugly. But no, it's down to like 70. It's like the high today, I think, is 72, and it's sunny. So it's just glorious.
Oh, brilliant. It's sticky here today. It's something like, it's going to be like 26, 27 with high humidity. So it'll feel like 30 to 33.
I don't miss Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I do not.
I have the window open right now because it's early in the morning. It's not even 9
I hear
o'clock.
Your bird. There's like a bird outside your window who just is angry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the way it is. I was awakened by a blue jay. Who was just... Jays
can be really angry.
Oh, God. Many years ago, when I was but a lad, we had this black and white beagle cocker mix. Bob the dog. There's a story behind Bob the dog and his name. Well, it's a short story. We got him when he was a little over 2 years old, and we could never convince him to come to any other name. So anyway, Bob the dog was down the backyard, and in the backyard is a clothesline. And he was down by the fence near the clothesline, looking really worried. And I looked out, and I heard this raucous noise, and there's a blue jay dive bombing him. And he's just going, cringing, because he was a coward, was Bob the dog.
You'd cringe if a blue jay aimed at your head, too. Oh, they're big.
Yeah. So I called him up, and he scampered up toward the back door, and I let him in. He ran and hid. And I went down to see what the fuss was all about. And here it was Mama protecting one of her babies. He was just going over to go, oh, what are you? And she didn't want that. And we ended up rescuing the baby and putting it back in the nest. But then we had to go find the nest. And the whole time, Mama is raising a fuss and dive bombing around my head and shoulders. Mm-hmm. And I had, leather work gloves on because I didn't want to mark the baby with my scent. And anyhow, yeah. So Bob the dog was terrorized by a blue jay.
Speaking of birds, I have a video I'll send you after we're finished here, or maybe you can cut it into the video, of our lovebird pigeons. There are two pigeons, a mated pair of pigeons that sit on our fence. And, every day I go outside, take the dog out, and they're sitting on the fence, scratching each other's necks or billing and cooing, as it were. And they're so adorable. They're just, I never thought I'd think pigeons were adorable, but these two are just so cute.
You do know that there are two ways to anthropomorphize that, right?
What?
Well, there's your way, and then there's, what are their names? Those two old Muppets on the Muppet Show that would sit in the balcony and heckle everyone. Statler and Waldorf.
Statler and Waldorf, yeah.
How do you know that? How do you know that they're not doing that? Do you think they're billing and cooing, but they're really like, look at that?
Well, because Statler and Waldorf didn't clean each other's faces with their beaks.
Fair.
No,
Fair.
it's definitely mated pair behavior. Yeah, I looked it up because, and apparently I didn't know this, but, and I might be wrong because it doesn't seem right to me, but I know I read somewhere that pigeons mate for life.
Oh, really?
So they're a couple.
Oh.
And it's just couple reinforcing behavior.
Right.
That they just sit on the wall of an evening
groom one another
and neck. Basically, they neck.
Literally neck. Okay.
So
We'll have to try that when I get back to rebond. Sit on the wall, look into our neighbor's garden, and neck.
Sit on the wall. So yeah, it's not a small wall.
And when
so paranoid about falling off the freaking wall.
We'll go down to the village, and when someone sits down on a bench and starts to eat their frites, we'll strut around. Strut around their feet.
You know they're not city pigeons because they just don't care. They don't go into the village. They don't follow where the food is. They're not city pigeons. They are big and fat, and they eat quite well on their own. Thank you very much.
Bless them.
Yep.
So today's topic is what?
I want to talk about men's patterns for men's stuff, because I got a couple of emails a couple weeks ago when I sent out a newsletter because we'd finally launched Made to Measure Patterns. And I sent out a newsletter saying, hey guys, what do you think? And I got a lot of great feedback. It's a wonderful idea. Can't wait till you do this pattern, all that kind of stuff. And I got some emails from some men who said, this is really terrific. Do you think you could do some men's? And I thought, well, yeah, of course. In October 2003, when we came out with our first 7 patterns, 6 of them were men's. I went and counted of our Golden Age of Piracy patterns. We have 13 Golden Age of Piracy patterns. 9 of them are men's.
I remember, as luck would have it, one of the few things that I remember from those days is that, because I remember being curious, why all the man's stuff and not the women's stuff. And I recall your logic being, women will make their own thing and they don't want a pattern, but men want this. They don't really care about the soft kit. They, as long as you make it easy for them, they'll make their own soft kit, lickety-splitsky, or they'll hand the pattern off to someone who will make it for them.
Yeah.
And that made a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know if things have changed now, but
things have changed because we sell to a wider audience. But at the time when we were selling to reenactors, women weren't buying from us.
Yeah.
Men were, because women women in reenactment, I mean, it's a whole story. You know, there's women, a lot of women, and I'm certainly not saying everyone because I know a ton of really great female reenactors. But a lot of the women in the hobby were involved because their husbands or boyfriends were, and they just wanted to buy something off the shelf that they could wear. And a lot of them ended up wearing like Ren Fair shit, which was awful. But, you know, you couldn't go and buy off the rack English Civil War clothes. So they didn't need me. But the men wanted everything to be precise, and they were either going to buy it from someone, which there weren't an awful lot of settlers who were carrying clothes, or they wanted someone to make, they wanted a pattern so they can hand it to someone. So yeah, that was my philosophy back in the early days. And then it did change, but you know, I'm never going to abandon the boys, you know, because quite frankly, I like men's fashion. And, you know, but so this idea that oh, would you please do some for men? Oh, I wish you would do some for men. Like, sweetie, of course I'm doing stuff for men. Just because one of the first 5 that I did made to measure wasn't a man's pattern is just because, you know, more women pre-ordered made to measure than men. But yeah, and then this really interesting thing happened. All of a sudden on a Friday night, I started getting orders from all over Europe, Switzerland, France, and then the UK, and Spain, for our Oxford bags pattern. RH 1324, the men's 1930s wide trousers. And I mean, crazy amount of orders, like 8 times as many orders as I get in a week for that pattern. I got in a day.
Yeah, it was weird, man.
Yeah, and most of them from the UK. I mean, there were a couple from the US, a couple from France, one from Spain, one from Switzerland. But most of them from the UK, and most of them from the Midlands, you know. And the interesting thing was there's a selling event called Torum, the original reenactors market, that happens every March and every November near Coventry in the UK. And our
Speaking
friends,
of Midlands.
Yeah, our friends, Paul Meakin's books, carry our patterns, and they carry our patterns to Torum and have, you know, since the early '80s. And obviously, they haven't had a Torum for, you know, a year and a half now. Yeah. You know, because it's in March, and they canceled. I think they locked down right before Torum in March because it was like the last week of March.
Yeah, I remember there being a big uproar about it because they had to cancel it, and it was too late to refund deposits and stuff like that, and people were just. I might be misremembering that. I might be conflating that with something else, but do go on.
Well, I do remember that it was like the week before when they canceled it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of shocking. But so they didn't have it in March 2020. They didn't have it in November 2020. They didn't have it again in March 2021. But then they scheduled like a mini one in June, because they were allowed to have it. So this happened to be that weekend. This was, you know, the weekend of the 11th of June.
Something like that. Yeah, like just a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got these crazy orders. And normally when you have like this blow up on your website, you can look at Google Analytics and see where that traffic is coming from. Like, for example, when Notre Dame burned, I started getting massive amounts of hits on the website.
When what?
What? Massive amounts of hits.
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
You said Notre Dame, like the university.
If I say Notre Dame, most of our audience isn't going to know what the hell I'm on about. You know, it's like last week when I was talking about the Kowloon tunic. No one knows it. Kerguelen. You have to say Kerguelen, or they don't know what the hell you're talking about, even though it's pronounced Kowloon. I'm a linguist and I want to say things properly, and I say things properly and nobody understands a word I'm saying. So Notre Dame burned, and I got like massive hit, like in the space of when I normally get 1 or 2 hits, I was getting 20, 30, 50 hits on one article. And it was the article I did, back in the 90s about the Tunic of Saint Louis.
Ah, yes.
And the Tunic of Saint Louis was housed in Notre Dame.
St. Louis.
Now, Saint Louis.
That pause there, ladies and gentlemen, was the pause where Kass mentally eviscerated me.
No, the pause was, I'm wondering why we're suddenly talking about Missouri. or is that Missouri? I don't know.
Missouri.
So anyway, so I did this article on the Tunic of Saint Louis, and long ago, and apparently a journalist who was covering the fire, because there were objects in Notre Dame, but all of those objects had been removed because, remember, there was construction going on.
Yeah.
And all of the objects had been removed, so they were safe.
Right.
But this journalist wrote this article and linked to our website because we talked about the Tunic of Saint Louis, and apparently no one else talks about the Tunic of Saint Louis, just freaking me. And I don't have a picture of it. I didn't examine it personally. I read about it in a book, and I made a replica. But yeah, so apparently my website, my article was the best game in town. So this journalist linked to it. And then all the other journalists who picked up the story used the link too.
Right.
So I got massive amounts of traffic, no sales. There's nothing to buy because I don't sell a pattern for the Tunic of Saint Louis, but people wanted to read about it. And so they read about it on my website. So that was really lovely. But when I went to Google Analytics and went, where the hell is all this traffic coming from? Why is traffic spiking? You can look, you can kind of follow the route backwards and say, oh, it's from this article, this article that's on the website of this newspaper or whatever, and you can see where it's coming from. So I did that when I saw this explosion of people buying Oxford bags, and not just Oxford bags, mostly Oxford bags, but also our 40s trousers and a couple of other things. Men's early 20th century vintage stuff.
Yeah.
Trousers.
Like prisons.
Yeah. Also some waistcoats and jackets, but mostly trousers. And I went to look back, and there's no, it's Google searches. People are Googling Oxford bag pattern and coming up with our website, which we've got really good placement because Mama knows how to pick a keyword, and it's not hard. It's not hard when they're called Oxford bags, and people know they're called Oxford bags, and you put Oxford bags in the title.
Right. It says Oxford bags pattern, and people are searching for Oxford bags. Hey, pattern.
Yeah.
Hey.
I do have an awful lot of trouble with keywords because I insist on calling things the proper name when some people will call them the wrong name, and I won't use the wrong name because I'm a historian and that's not the name. But when you're searching on the internet, there are a couple things that we had a wholesale customer who bought from us and put things on Amazon, and there were things she called pirate coat that I'm like, that's not from the golden age of piracy. That's from the American War for Independence. And that's the other thing is, like, you say Rev War. Rev War is what people Google, not American War for Independence. There are people who Google American War for Independence, but those are like the 5 people we know in the hobby, and they all know our party. So you have to use the words that they use,
like Patriot, Paul Revere, all the you got to hit your SEO.
Yeah. Or like Australians, when Australians are Googling colonial patterns, they mean Victorian.
Right.
And that blew me away. I'm talking to some Australian customers of mine, and they're talking about colonial, and I'm sending them these links, and they're like, no, that's too early. That's too early. And I'm like, oh, when you were a colony, not when we were a colony.
Send them a picture of the prisoner's uniform. That'll get them right on your side.
Oh yeah. But no, I mean, to be fair, Australians are really laid back about the fact that they're forgotten. Everyone forgets that it's winter there and it's summer here. Everyone forgets that it's, that they're in a completely different time zone that no one else shares. They understand. They're really, really good about like speaking your language, like talking in your hours and your timeline and stuff like that. But when they said colonial, I was just like, oh, I love colonial things, and they meant Victorian, and they could call it Victorian too, because of course we call it Victorian, and Victoria wasn't monarch of the United States, but Victoria was monarch of Australia. But where the hell am I going with this? Oh yeah, so traffic, Google traffic. So,
Oxford bags.
Oxford bags. So the Google traffic was coming from nowhere. It was coming from Google searches. So I'm like, holy crap. So I talked to Joe Cooper from Paul Meekins, who Joe Cooper is, the person who runs the pattern side of the booth, and said, did you do me a solid? Because like, if you did, cool. Because I could just imagine, I know that she placed an order for this event, but she only bought 2 Oxford bag patterns. So I thought, oh, if somebody wanted Oxford bags and ran out, maybe she said, oh, go Google Reconstructing History. They have them. And that's where we got the hits from. And she said, no, I didn't. But on the Great British Sewing Bee, they had to make Oxford bags. So I'm like, you think you're in touch, and you're not.
Yeah. Not with the BBC, that's for sure.
Not with the BBC. I only get what somebody puts on YouTube illegally. So yeah. So and I wouldn't. I mean, I don't like those sewing programs anyway, because I feel like the competition is unfair.
The artificial drama is always
palpable,
I
don't care for those kinds of things. So I wouldn't have watched it anyway. But in any case, so the Oxford bags, and so Oxford bags exploded, and I'm suddenly selling men's patterns, and not that I wasn't before. I mean, we have. I would be willing to say that about half of our customers that half of the names that come through that we ship to are men's.
Yeah.
And half of the people that I speak to on email are men.
Yeah.
And, it's not easy to make men's 20th century stuff. It takes a skill level that is beyond most people. Like everyone assumes that every woman can buy a simplicity pattern and run up a dress. And that is, of course, not at all true. And
it's like assuming every man, it's like assuming every man can change a tire or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But the reality is that there's a reason why simplicity doesn't do a whole ton of men's patterns. And that's because men's clothing is more complicated than women's. Like you can have
pockets.
You could have a dress, that a beginner who's never touched a sewing machine could make this dress, but you're not going to have a jacket that a beginner can put together.
No. There's and even if you think, interfacing and pad stitching a lapel.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't do that, there's still a lot of stuff you have to put together in a jacket in a certain way.
Yeah.
You could cut out the pieces and run it up and have it look like a bag. But it's still a lot of pieces, and they're weird shapes and they don't fit together really well, where you could have a dress that the front and the back look pretty much the same, and you sew it together, the shoulders and the sides, and you're done.
Yeah.
But men's stuff isn't like that. But we do men's stuff, we do men's stuff, and we send you instructions that teaches you how to pad stitch and teaches you how to roll a collar and teaches you how to cut this part of the collar on the bias so that it stretches, but this part of the collar on the straight so that it fights the stretch, so it doesn't stretch too much.
The instructions are not a substitute for a shelf full of tailoring books or decades of experience.
Well, yeah,
but they get you a hell of a lot closer than nothing at all.
Practice these. And you can pick and choose. I mean, you can choose to do a collar in the tailored way so that your collar looks good, but not not put the interfacing in the fronts of your jacket, or put in fusible interfacing in the fronts of your jacket rather than doing all the pad stitching and the layers and all that. You can just use shoulder pads rather than building out a shoulder in a tailor's way. There are shortcuts. You don't have to do everything.
Right.
But we teach you how to do everything, from beginning to end. And we always have, since we put out RH 105, which is our very, very first men's body garment. I mean, we did 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107 all together. And on October 17th, 2003. And
how you remember that, I have no idea. But hey.
Because it's the birth of my baby. I had to think twice though. I'm like, was it the 17th? Yeah, well, it's 4 days after my birthday. Of course I remember it. But from 105, which was our men's 1930s doublet pattern, we've been telling people how to put in the padding and the pad stitching and the canvas and all that stuff that goes into the proper construction of 16th and 17th century doublet. We've been doing it since 2003, so, and we never stopped. Every doublet pattern of ours has that interior structure instructions that most people just ignore, and you're welcome to ignore it. You do so at your own peril. You make the garment you want to make, but it's there.
I've never used it. No, wait. The pistachio doublet had it. The pistachio that had a bit of it.
You finished the pistachio doublet.
Yeah, I didn't do the main structural work. I did the finishing work.
Yeah,
but
I mean, you can certainly get away with it because.
And I didn't even do all of that because I remember I was sitting at. Let's shout out to Laura Mellon, the Attack Laurel, sitting in the Varen Ermin common tent at Penzik, trying to finish the breeches for that suit and working on buttonholes, and her sitting there and
watching you make the world.
Hang on, I have to do this because she doesn't wear glasses like this, but she was just like, "What do you call those?" They're buttonholes, Laura. She said, "Really?" And basically snatched them out of my hands along with the embroidery floss I was using for buttonhole gimp, and actually made them presentable. Because I don't know what I was doing, but it was not now.
Oh,
and she knocked out like 18 hand-stitched buttonholes in an hour.
Yeah. Well, she's an embroideress. She's really she has a lot of experience. She's done an entire embroidered jacket. She has a lot of experience. She's done more than one.
Yeah.
She has a lot of experience.
Bless her, though. She finished that for me, and I took credit for it. No, I told everybody that. No,
you told everybody. You told everybody, Lord.
I started it, and it looked like nothing on God's clean earth.
I remember you saying, "You see this one? You see this one? It's ugly, and I don't want anybody to see it, and I'm kind of pulling the flyover so nobody sees it." I did that one.
see all the rest that look presentable? Yeah.
Yeah, but buttonholes are one of those things that I've done many buttonholes, and eyelets being pretty much the same stitch. Every time I do them, I do 2 on scrap fabric.
Yeah.
Like a scrap of the same fabric, not
You pull out
any
some
old fabric.
cabbage and you
A scrap of the cabbage from that outfit and do 2 practice ones before I do it on the good. Because, even if I've just done them, you really need a ramp up.
Yeah.
Especially if you change, if you go from, a thin wool to a thick wool or linen or whatever. It makes sense. It makes sense.
So,
the
men's stuff. So the Oxford bags, we figured out where that is coming from, which is cool. Coincidence? I like it. It's not like we paid them.
It's terrific. And
how is this impacting made to measure?
Well, I am working on made to measurifying some of the men's.
Okay, you're the linguist.
I made a word.
Yeah, you're the linguist. I trust you.
I made a word.
I trust you.
All my notes say MTMify.
Facebook.
How else to say it?
Okay.
dear Facebook. This is a new word. Yeah, I'm made to measurifying some of the men's patterns. I'm starting with the lounge jacket, 914.
Right.
And the step collar waistcoat, 928.
Right.
Yeah. So 928 is probably our most popular waistcoat pattern.
Yeah. It's very versatile. It goes from it covers such a wide span of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't require much adjustment to cover that wide span of time.
Early Victorian to 1950s, really. I mean, it's just a plain, it's just the usual waistcoat.
Yeah.
And so I'm MTMifying those as we speak. And because other patterns of ours are based on those same body blocks, like 927, which is the shawl collar waistcoat, is based on 928. So are the U-front waistcoats that are the evening wear waistcoats are based on 928. As for 914, the reefer is the same body block as 914. The
tuxedo,
the dinner jacket, a lot of the, 912. I remember the numbers. 914 is 912, 915, 928, 926, the smoking jacket.
Right. So the point is you're going to have
the Norfolk jacket, 925 as well.
You're going to have the point is you're going to have a whole raft of men's made to measure stuff coming right speedily and soons.
Yes, because as soon as I'm done one, the rest of them are just copy paste and change the name and move a couple points, which I'm getting really fast. So that's no problem at all. And
I mean, so you'll tweak them. You'll have to tweak them for their idiosyncrasies, but
it's very simple. It's very simple.
Yeah. It's engineering.
It's what I do. That's what I do. To quote Mr. Obama. And I've been having a thought for a while. And, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But some of the feedback that I've been getting has been specifically asking for 1920s men's patterns. Now, we have our men's patterns really work from, like we said, the waistcoat goes back to the 1840s, but the jackets really work from like 1870s, 1880s through the 1940s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But people who are looking for 20s patterns don't seem to find that. The pattern cover says 1880s to 1930s, 1940s, but they kind of miss the fact that 1920s is between those dates or something.
Right.
There are also some differences, like, it's not that men's suits didn't change. They certainly did change. But your average guy on the street isn't wearing something radically different in
Right.
the 20s than this average guy on the street was wearing in the teens or in the 30s. But fashionable men are wearing something that is more different. Now, it's still a lounge jacket. But in the 20s, it's cut closer to the body.
Yeah.
Instead of having overlapped buttons in the front like normal, I just hit my microphone. I don't know if I just made it make a horrible sound. I apologize.
Oh,
if I
you did. It was terrible.
Did I? I'm sorry. Instead of having normal buttons in the front like this, it has like the two holes like you find on French cuffs. So the front of the jacket doesn't button. You have like
Barbell with the barbell made of buttons and thread.
No, not buttons and thread. Like a cufflink. You have a cufflink, particularly made for the front of your jacket. You have, it closes with one. Yeah, it closes with one cufflink instead of a button. You'll have jackets in the 1920s that still have waist seams.
Right.
Like frock coats. I mean, they don't have big skirts. You could have cut the whole thing straight, but there's a waist seam.
They're narrowly cut, tapered leg trousers that stop like above the ankle bones.
Yeah, right through the ankle bone.
Yeah.
Hem right through the ankle bone.
Oddly, now that I think about it, there's a lot of suits the suit cuts that I'm seeing nowadays in 2021 that look like they've come out of a Montgomery Ward catalog or something from 1921. The only thing that's different is high, stiff collars and mustaches.
Yeah, I have.
Although those, I don't know. There's some really good handlebars out there.
I have a theory about that, and I think it has to do with Mad Men, because Mad Men was set in the very early 1960s.
Yeah.
And when it got really popular, Brooks Brothers did a line of Mad Men suits.
Right. And they're very Mad Men suits. Very fitted.
Yeah, very narrow, very fitted. Not short yet, but very, close to the body. And in the 1920s, the difference between the 60s and the 20s is that in the 20s they're short, they're high waters. They're I remember we had our tailors make you a 1920s suit. We call it the Jazz Age suit, and they said this is too short for his leg length. And I said, no, I want you to make them that short. And they were like, they'll be too short. I'm like, no, it's okay. And this was, of course, how many years ago was this? 8 or 9 years ago. Yeah. So no, it wasn't like now you see, what's the guy? Beckham. Every time you see Beckham, where he's got a suit that fits like it's painted on him, and his trousers are short because he's so freaking fashionable. And but he wasn't wearing his trouser legs that short when we had this jazz suit made.
Right.
He is now, which I think it's because he watches everything we do.
It's very likely.
I'm pretty sure he follows us.
Very likely.
So, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Hi, Bex. We're bending it.
Yeah, we're bending it. But the other difference with 1920s suits is modernly, the suit jacket is 2 fronts and a back, or 2 fronts and 2 backs.
Right.
And the shape is 1 dart on the side, on each side, under the chest level, there's 1 dart on each side. And you usually don't notice it on a man's jacket because it's very, very narrow. It's only like 1 centimeter wide, but it's a dart that makes the shape so that your jacket doesn't fit like a box. In the 1920s, there was far more tailoring involved. You almost had like a princess seam kind of curve down from the shoulder. And again, as I said before, you had this waist seam like the frock coats had. And even though that waist seam isn't turning the fabric so that you can have full skirts, it's still a point of adjustment.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense.
So the men's jackets and the waistcoats are very pigeon-breasted.
Yeah.
So the backs are very small and the side seams aren't under their arm. The side seams are back on their back.
Yeah.
Like 18th century waistcoats, really. So you have a different shape. So, you know, the 20s and the 60s era suits, they have a relationship, but it's a general overall silhouette.
Right.
Not construction.
So you think your theory is in the 60s they were looking back to the 20s, and now we've gone, and then you know in the 70s it went out to, you know, ridiculous extremes, lapels you could use as a ski jump, and then things pulled back again in the 80s, and now we're back toward the 1920s.
The 60s also reacted against the 50s, and in the 50s everything was big and boxy and wide. Yeah. And your lapels were wide, your tie was wide, all of those things. And so I think, you know, fashionable suits now are replicating the 60s. But I know that Peaky Blinders and Downton Abbey have had a huge impact on what people are wearing. And that's
your theory, and I respect your theory. My theory is, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Wait.
I've had a number of male customers ask me about a Peaky Blinders suit. You know, when I say, occasionally I put out on the newsletter, what do you want to see next? And I always get men saying, I want a Peaky Blinders suit. I want a 1920s suit. I want, you know, that tweeds. And, you know, I want to dress like Bertie Wooster. And which is interesting, you know, Jeeves and Wooster was out in the 90s.
Which suit?
And
but which suit? Because the Heather Mix Lounge is an entirely different animal to the pinstripe stuff he's wearing to the drones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The cut is completely different.
And all of it 30s. You know, I mean, he's, you know, the books are, they're not all of them, but the books that we remember most fondly are set in the 20s, but the TV show was set in the 30s. Yeah. But that's Clive Exton. You know, Clive Exton was doing Poirot not at the same time, but close to the same time. And Clive Exton clearly loves the 30s because he got so much of it so precise.
So very right. Very right.
Oh, may he rest in peace. He did an excellent job. And I remember there's a story from Poirot from
David Suchet.
David Suchet, I saw him in an interview recently, you know, long since Poirot has wrapped. And he said when he got called for this job, he didn't know if he wanted to do it. And he showed up at the set, or he didn't know if he wanted to do more. I think they hired him for because the first Poirot season was 6 half-hour episodes. They were really tiny. They weren't these, you know, 90-minute long feature-length movies that it became later. But the first season was these 30-minute episodes. And he didn't know if he wanted to do it because he didn't want to get locked. I mean, he's a great character actor, but you don't want to get locked into one character.
Right.
And he managed not to. So he's such a great character actor that you go and see him do something else and you go, that's the guy who did Poirot? How you can't even find him in there. You know, when I saw him, what is it? One of the Terry Pratchett books.
Oh, one of the Discworld movies. Yeah.
It's
Reacher Guilt.
Yeah. I couldn't find his face.
No.
I couldn't find his face. I knew David Suchet was in this movie and I was like,
when's he going to show up?
When is he going to show up? Because I couldn't find him. He's so fabulous. But anyway, so he went on the set and he was driven up to the park outside of Poirot's apartment building.
Uh-huh.
And all the people in the park were dressed in 1930s clothes and pushing 1930s baby buggies and riding 1930s bicycles and stuff like this. And these are people These were extras.
Yeah.
These were people who were never going to be in focus. And he said, something special is happening here.
Yeah.
These stupid little half-hour episode, ITV doing, and I think it was ITV doing stupid little half-hour episodes based on Agatha Christie. And they care what the backgrounds looks like. Just amazing stuff. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of people asking about 1920s suits. And when I have customers ask about a pattern, I always have to ask myself if they mean it. Because sometimes when somebody asks for something, they know what they want specifically. Like if you ask me for an apron skirt for side saddle riding, you ride side saddle, you know what an apron skirt is, you need it.
You know what you're talking about, yeah.
Right. But if you ask me for a 20s suit like Peaky Blinders, I don't know if you are committed to the complexity that involves. Or do you just want a lounge jacket and trousers that you can make out of tweed?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you both.
Yeah, it's fair.
914 is a perfectly easy fitting lounge jacket. It works for the 1920s.
Yeah.
It works for the 1880s. It works for the 1940s.
928, same. The trousers that come with that package, 919, also same.
Yep.
We'll put a link to the package somewhere in here.
Perfectly fine, perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
But if you want the jacket that's cut kind of funny, the front that closes with the cufflink rather than buttons, the jacket with the waist seam, the weird looking vests with the pigeon breasted effect, you want something different.
Yeah.
And I really want to make those patterns. So at this day, there's going to be a day in the future when I will be finished converting the patterns, the 377 patterns we already have. I'm not converting all 377 patterns to made to measure. I'm not.
There's some that don't make any sense, like 107, 1068.
You don't need a men's Lena in made to measure.
No.
It's a big, huge thing of pleated linen that fits like a bag.
You don't need a 004 in made to measure.
You don't need a 004. Yeah, exactly. But this
hell, you don't need a
glorious
reefer in made to measure.
Nah, you do. A reefer should fit. A reefer should fit. I mean, boxy. It's boxy, but it still needs to fit in all the places it needs to fit. So say we all.
Some glorious day.
Some glorious day in the future that I can envision when I actually get back to making new patterns. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to take a break. Like after I finish all the made to measure pre-orders, because I promise you I'm going to finish the made to measure pre-orders. But after I finish all those, I'll probably stop converting to made to measure so that I can do some new patterns.
Yeah, because we've got a pile of them stacked up.
I've got a bunch of vintage patterns that are ready to go, except all I have to do is lay them out.
Yep.
And I haven't done it yet because
made to measure. You've been busy, and there's only so many hours in a day. I mean, you're keeping up with your orders and printing and shipping, as well as converting and jiggering and testing your jiggering and stuff like that. So listen. And
then I got to mow the lawn.
But you're mowing the lawn with an old-fashioned gang reel push mower.
Yeah,
that's how hardcore you are.
It takes a lot longer than going out and riding a tractor.
I told you that I showed you the links to the electric ones that are self-propelled and everything. But no, that's too much. You said that's fine. It's fine.
It's because I want a Bang & Olufsen stereo more than I want a...
Oh, speaking of which, Paul says hi.
Oh, love you, Paul.
Speaking of trades,
love you, Paul.
You're getting your Bang & Olufsen, and we've almost concluded a deal. You just have to approve it.
Okay.
So
We'll talk about that when
Off the air.
we show the cameras. Yeah. So on that glorious day in the future, when I'm at a stopping point in Made to Measure, and things are really cranking over, I'm going to do 20s men's.
Brilliant.
And more equestrian patterns.
Yeah, that'll be great.
And that'll probably include women. Women. It'll probably include men's equestrian patterns as well, because now I have a fondness for men.
Phrasing? Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
What? A fondness for men?
Yeah.
I have a fondness for men. I'm allowed. I'm allowed to be fond.
Never mind.
No, I want to do a nice hunt coat, a nice scarlet.
Yes, because you may do that. You may do that because we'll need a tester.
Yeah. You're not allowed to wear scarlet. We're not part of a hunt club.
Who says I'm going to wear it riding?
Yeah.
Just wear it around the town.
We'll have Ilsa make you up a nice scarlet, and and I want to do a rat catcher jacket as well.
Ooh.
Yeah,
because you can make 928. Just leave the collar off it and make the French tattershell, and you're fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Matter of fact, I had someone buy. I had a couple people buy 1008.
Oh yeah.
So women buying a 1008, not intending to wear it with a corset or Victorian garb or anything like that, but to make themselves a canary waistcoat for hunts.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they show me, I want to make this. Which of your vest patterns will work for this? And they send me to the website of
like Equitech or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny that they're most of the time when people want to make something, it's because they don't want to pay for the thing that's on the website that they're showing me. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, by the time you buy the right fabric for this, you want to, because you think it's cheaper, but if you're not using the right fabric, it's going to look like hell. And if you are using the right fabric, you've already outpriced the thing on the website. But I sold them a pattern and walked them through how to make it work for the hunt vest. So and then with the equestrian stuff is going to come like 6 different variations of side saddle skirts and oh my God, so many brilliant jackets that I'm going to make and wear in the town, as you say.
Yeah. Well, we are. When I get back, horses need to be involved.
I haven't gone and seen our Frisian friends in 6 months.
Tisk.
I haven't gone to.
I say Tisk. They're just on the road.
I know. I used to see the boys all the time. The boys in that paddock.
Yeah.
Along the road, but it's been closed because they're doing that construction on the bridge.
Oh,
so
yes.
So you go up to the traffic circle when you go to make the right
straight through and down and around. Yeah.
You can't go. You can't go right at that traffic circle because they're working on that bridge that's right there. So, and coming the other direction from Earsall, you can't get through the last traffic circle before you get to it because they turn you around there too. So I've been trying.
Go Stainsel over to Connexel and then up through that way. Out of Earsall.
No, you can't. You can't.
Oh, really?
The road that goes in front of the horses in the front yard.
Yeah. That's shut.
It is shut from the only place where you can get on that road.
Yeah.
To the only place where you can get off that road.
Yeah, I get it. The traffic circle there in Stainsel.
This traffic circle in Stainsel to the traffic circle here in Veldo.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And
we are boring the piss out of everyone now.
Yeah.
We'll drop a link to a Google map And ladies and gentlemen,
Well,
this is our blue route.
Yeah.
This is our blue route.
Since I stopped going to physio for my left frozen shoulder, if I have to go to physio again for my right shoulder, I'm going to be pissed. So I'm just move it again.
Anger is an energy.
Anger is an energy. Just going to keep moving it.
There you go.
Keep moving it until it fights. I'm going to fight the power.
This is the right hand for that.
That is my right hand.
Fight the power.
Fight the power. By doing windmills. Oh, it hurts. But yeah, so I haven't been out that way since I stopped going to physio because I don't have to go there once a week to go to an appointment. So yeah, I haven't seen the girls. I haven't seen the pacas. I haven't seen the emus. I haven't seen Joey.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I'm a lazy lump. I'm a lazy lump who's
you're not
working.
Driving. You're not driving anywhere.
No, I'm really not. I'm like tomorrow. I get my first vaccination tomorrow, and I have to drive into Eindhoven tomorrow. And I'm like, how did you drive?
How do you drive? Nice.
I just hope
what's this wiggledy thing under my right hand? Why are there two pedals?
Yeah, no. The last time I drove to the vet, which is walking distance from here. But I had to drive to the vet because I was picking up dog food and the bag is too heavy for me to carry all the way home. So I drove to the vet to pick up a bag of dog food like 2 weeks ago. And that's the last time I had the car out. And my car, it's in the garage and I hope it starts.
Good luck.
I've been driving your car,
I think we might need some jumper cables when I get back. Anyhow,
I have jumper cables, so.
Oh no, I mean, it's just, we may require them.
Yeah.
So
men's
made to measure, men's vintage, it's all coming.
Men's vintage era patterns.
Well, we have them. Made to measures coming.
Yeah, we have men's patterns. There is a link. There is a category on the front page of the website called men's patterns that you can click and find all our men's patterns in there. They're in 1930s patterns. They're in 1920s patterns. The categories overlap.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot. We have them.
Yeah.
They're good. Buy them. More are coming. I'm made to measurifying them soon. If not by the time this podcast launches, soon afterwards.
Yeah.
Subscribe to our newsletter. We'll put a link in the description box, and
link to the newsletter
is where I announce everything. I announce everything on the newsletter. So, and I might even do a sale, and that's the only place you get a coupon.
The only place you can get a coupon.
The only place you get a coupon is the newsletter. So subscribe to the newsletter, and I don't flood you with stuff. I just every once in a while I tell you we've got something new, and every once in a while I give you a coupon. So,
of course we don't sell the information. We don't.
No. I don't sell your information because you're mine. You're my customers, and I'm keeping you. I'm not giving you anyone.
We're captive.
Yeah. And and I don't even do a weekly informative newsletter because, quite frankly, right now I don't have time. If I stopped to do a newsletter, it would mean I wouldn't get another pattern done.
Yeah, and exactly. Your priorities are in a different place.
I'm busy. And Flash doesn't like it. Flash is not having this because I put this picture in here too. Did I send you these pictures of Flash not having it?
No, I don't think you did.
Yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday, I went out to the garage early in the morning to print.
Oh, yes, you did send me those pictures. Yeah.
So I went out to print, and I leave the house is entirely fenced. And so Flash can just wander around the yard. But normally, he eats his breakfast and then he goes for a nap. And he was napping, and I had the doors open in the house so that the breeze would come through because it was morning and it was cool. It got up to 90 yesterday. So in the morning, it was still in the 70s and there was a breeze. So I propped open the two doors to the house and let the breeze blow through. And then I went out to the garage and I propped open the garage so the breeze would blow through because, it's an aluminum box,
Yeah.
and it's not pleasant when there's no breeze. But normally there's a breeze here, so that's good. So I threw open the windows and I propped open the doors, and I was in there getting the printers warmed up, and who wanders in but His Majesty? And he wanders in and pants at me, as he does when he wants something, and goes over to a pile of moving blankets that are in the corner and walks on them very pointedly, panting, and looking at me, and panting, and looking at me. And so then I had to go and arrange the moving blankets because they were in a stack, and that was not nice. So I had to make a bed of the moving blankets, and then the moving blankets were too hard. So I had to go and get an old comforter, and I put it on the floor. And then he, turned around 3 times with her shins and laid down on the floor, not near me. God forbid there should be affection implied. But on the other side of the room, like as far away from where I was working as he could possibly be.
Yeah.
But still within sight of me.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want me doing anything he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He is, you say, oh, you own your own business and you're your own boss. No, I am not my own boss. My boss is a greyhound, an elderly greyhound with very few teeth and disgruntlement disorder.
He's never been fully gruntled.
No, he's just totally disapproving. And he was not having it.
It was
and
he is a creature of habit and routine, and you violate that at your peril. Anyway, we were trying to wrap this up.
No, but I just want to say, normally I go out to the garage and he just sleeps. He just ignores me.
He careth not.
I think, it's just, he's been very uncomfortable. I mean, he's a Florida dog, but he's forgotten how to be a Florida dog. He's forgotten the 3 years we spent in the Caribbean and the summers in Pennsylvania. And he's just, he's elderly. Yeah. And he's not happy in 90-degree heat and humidity. And I've just been putting a wet towel on him. But he's uncomfortable. Now he's fine because it's 70, 72.
But when it gets back up to 30 again, he's gonna.
Yeah, when it gets back to what they call tropical hot here.
Yeah.
He's just uncomfortable, and I think he was just like, I'm uncomfortable. You're the person who makes me comfortable. Why are you leaving?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he just laid, just completely unconscious on the other end of the
You're his protector. You're his protector.
I am his slave.
Ever since he had his episode, whenever he feels out of sorts, he comes looking for you. He doesn't come to me.
Yeah.
He goes looking for you.
Well, I do take care of him, the big ass. But yeah, so we'll drop in the pictures of Flash. He's, moderately cute, but don't think he's being cute and adorable.
Yeah, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
He's not a companion dog. He's an antisocial animal who just doesn't want me to get away with anything.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So there we go. Men's made to measure coming. Men's new vintage patterns coming. Men's vintage patterns on the website under men's patterns.
Links are all down there in the doodly-doo. And as usual, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that sort of thing. It really helps us out, and we appreciate it. All our links to our other social media channels are also in the doodly-doo. And if you gave us a follow on those, that would be awesome. I can't think of anything else. Oh, yeah, there's the newsletter. There'll be a link for that. There's links for everything. This description box is going to be about a terabyte. Anyhow, we will talk to you next time, and hope in the interval that if it's summer for you, you're staying cool and collected. If it's winter for you, hello, Australia, you're staying warm and collected. And
New Zealand. Don't forget New Zealand.
New Zealand, yes.
There's plenty of New Zealand's.
You're working on those lovely projects while you're snowed in. In the meantime...
South Africa. South Africa. We have customers in South Africa.
Shall we list the whole bloody globe?
Well, yeah. We don't have any in Antarctica. Somebody promised me they were going on a research trip to Antarctica, and they would buy a download pattern from Antarctica just to
so
complete the set.
Nice.
So we could say we'd do every continent.
If you have any suggestions about what you'd like to hear us blither about, or questions about the patterns or whatever, hit the comment
Anything you
section.
want to see. Yep.
Email info@reconstructinghistory.com, and we'll be happy to oblige. Until next time, then, my name is Bob.
I'm Kass.
Yep, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.